I've always felt like a completely crappy artist or like a fraud because I have to gather images in Google to to, to have any idea of how to draw something or put together a design. It doesn't just conjure up in my mind. I thought that when I was younger, when my art teacher taught me how to draw what I see and practice techniques of being able to get what I see literally in front of me onto paper, I thought maybe somehow that messed up my ability to imagine things, and I used it as a crutch or something in order to be able to actually draw. I thought that other people who were able to imagine things and draw them, even doodles, were just much more gifted and capable than I was of using my imagination. I just assumed I had a stunted imagination, which in a sense I have had, because my imagination has been a blank screen. I always knew this, but I didn't realize that other people's minds weren't blank screens. Basically, aphantasia is mental blindness, where other people can see images in their mind, they can recall memories visually. That's never something that I've been able to do. I don't think I would fully have grasped it at this point if I hadn't caught glimpses in the past couple years of being able to see in my mind. And it's as though there's a movie playing or pictures, but they're moving very quickly, very, very quickly. And my eyes are chasing them to the back of my head, trying desperately to hold on to them and bring them into focus and comprehend what I'm seeing. It's just been little glimpses. Generally when I'm sort of meditating or sort of almost asleep, but not really, because it doesn't happen when I'm just like falling asleep. It's a different state of being. And from what I understand, essentially it's as though those neural pathways that connect to my mind's eye, I guess, are not there or are not developed or are malfunctioning somehow. I know that I have the ability, can dream quite well, quite interesting dreams. And so I can only imagine what it would be like if I could connect those pathways and access that while awake. I know that I will, and it's very intriguing to consider. This is a condition that affects approximately 2 to 3% of the world. As far as people know at this point, it's been studied very, very little. Many people are struggling to determine whether or not they have aphantasia, and I think largely, if you don't have it, you know that you don't have it, because what is described is so foreign to you. However, because we do remember things and quote-unquote visualize things in a way, it is a little bit odd to try to recognize that we aren't actually seeing pictures. What I could say is that it's almost as though I'm subconsciously piecing together facts into what is almost like a visual impression, or the impression of an image, not an actual image. It's not just faint or grainy, it's you know how there's an aftertaste when you taste something? This is almost as though I could compare it to the concept of an after smell. You don't quite smell something, but you almost imagine you smell something, which doesn't really make sense in my mind. It's not actually a concrete thing either, it's just the idea of something. I don't know how to explain it. But if you've ever dreamt and then tried to remember your dreams but couldn't actually picture them, that's maybe an idea of it. Also with memory, I've never understood anyone who had the notion that they should just take a mental picture, or that somehow having a camera out keeps them from living in the moment and takes away from a future memory somehow. Because if I didn't capture things on video or in a picture, I just completely wouldn't remember how they looked at all. It's just somewhat therapeutic or helpful to be able to put a name and identify other people who experience life the way I do. It explains things that I've always felt, but never really understood why. It makes me feel less dumb in some capacity. I don't take it as a victim sort of thing. I don't feel that way at all, and I don't feel a lack of intelligence or ability to accomplish things, certainly. Partly because I do believe that it's possible to eventually visualize. It is, to my understanding, a neurological disorder of sorts. So it's very interesting. From what I've seen of people discussing aphantasia online, there is a spectrum of sorts, because some people can see very vividly, other people can see nothing whatsoever, and in between. So I think the biggest thing that this has done for me is just remind me how very differently we all experience the world. It's so easy to interact with someone from the basis of how you understand things and assume that they are somehow doing something stupidly or some character flaw because they're not interacting with life in the way that you would from what you perceive. When in reality, they're likely perceiving something very differently and interacting in the best way that they understand to interact with the situation or with life. Why not just give people the benefit of the doubt? We can certainly all learn something from everyone. It's important to see the different perspectives. It's important to listen. Stay humble. Stay curious. You never know what thing in the future people will discover is not normal, is not common to every person. The way that you currently perceive life, perhaps other people have been on a different wavelength all along. You don't know until you know. Life is so nuanced. Communication is so nuanced. The way that we think and process information is so greatly varied. There's a lot more to discover. When someone does something that you don't agree with, that doesn't make any sense, if you can stop and consider, they just have a different perspective, and it's one you can learn from.